And the next speaker is also new to me, SJPP, Syarikat Jaminan Pembiayaan Perniagaan. Betul tak? Alamak, what a mouthful. That's new to me too. And I'm introduced to them, our senior general manager kan, Mohd Azlan Agel.
Yes.
Orang mana?
Johor.
Orang Johor. I pergi Johor besok. Going to Johor besok. So he would like to tell you all what schemes do they have beneficial for the company. Let me try to open first your slides here so that you can see what's going on. Mana saya punya itu WhatsApp. Download SJPP. There you go. Your clicker is here. Let's give a round of applause to Mohd Azlan to present your SJPP schemes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mohd. First and foremost, I would like to thank MDEC, gracious host, SME Corp, as well as MCMTC for inviting SJPP to this talk. I hope that I can share some information. I think you've heard a lot about SJPP. Eddie has mentioned it, Caleb has mentioned it, so now let me re-mention it again. Maybe we'll have some big points about SJPP. But first and foremost, can I have a show of hands of who has not heard about SJPP? Alamak. My marketing team is there. My marketing team as well as my business development team is there. So, kena hantam diorang sikit.
Azlan, good. You brought the right group for this session.
Okay, so let me go through SJPP. Okay, first and foremost, thank you very much again. Maybe I can just go through some of the main points here. SJPP was actually set up in 2009. This was because in 2006, 2007, we actually had a credit crunch situation where the banks were not lending out. During that time, it was the time during Tan Sri Yaakob was the Minister of Finance. So what happened was that in order to encourage the banks to provide loans to the companies, what happened was that the government had to step in. This is similar to the model that Japan, UK has adopted, as well as Singapore has adopted, where the company steps in with the guarantee to the banks, so that the banks feel comfortable to lend out to the to the businesses and the companies. So SJPP, as you can see on the slide, is a company that is fully owned by the Minister of Finance Incorporated. Basically the government 100% of our shares are actually controlled and owned by the government. So there are two main objectives here of SJPP. Number one, SJPP has been tasked by the government to manage and administer their government guarantees that they have set up over the years. In 2009, the first SJPP came about in 2009. The first guarantee scheme was for about 10 billion ringgit. Usage was 8 billion ringgit, if I'm not mistaken, at that time in 2009. Today, SJPP is managing about 66.5 billion ringgit in government guarantee, out of which something like 37 billion has been used up. If I'm not mistaken, the last count I saw was that we have still about 30 billion ringgit in government guarantee available for you guys. Not but the government over the years, I think even though I'm in MDEC, I can say this one. Whatever government is in charge over the years, all of the governments have been very supportive of SJPP because of the key role it plays in helping SMEs and mid-tier companies such as yours. So don't worry lah. Frankly, if whatever government happens or new government, current government, whatever, don't worry. Nobody is going to say, oh, we're going to stop supporting SMEs and media companies. Nobody will do that. So everybody will continue to support, whichever government, whichever finance minister. So that one, I think I can almost promise you lah. But the idea is, SJPP will provide the government guarantee to the banks, so that the banks will be able to provide you the necessary loans, financing, even though you do not have collateral or if you have insufficient collateral security. This is what has been mentioned by Caleb just now as well as Eddie. Okay, so those that have problems in getting financing from banks because of no collateral or lack of collateral or insufficient collateral, this is where SJPP comes in. Okay? The government understands this and that's why we're doing this. So, in order for this to happen, we actually work very closely with banks. As you can see, earlier Eddie mentioned that we have 21 banks and also 8 financiers. He didn't mention that 8 financiers are actually credit leasing companies. So we actually guarantee credit leasing companies like Upseng, Scania, that actually buys, that provide financing for buses. We actually have a scheme for buses, express bus, etc. Okay, so let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, this is some of the key. Over the next 2 slides, talks about some of the key schemes. This slide actually talks about the schemes that were introduced by the government as well as Bank Negara in 2021. In 2021. There were earlier schemes that were introduced in 2020 when we had the actual pandemic as well as the many MCOs. Some of those schemes have been closed, but these are still available. The first one on the left hand, on your left hand side is PEMULIH Government Guarantee Scheme, PGGS. Okay, can I ask another show of hands? Siapa tak pernah nampak the apa? Billboards?
The what?
Billboards.
Ada.
Oh, what?
Ada.
Along your bangsa.
Yeah.
Yes.
There are many billboards because we have been tasked by the government to actually promote PGGS. So there's tak pernah nampak. You got
Focusing on the driving.
sudah lah. But actually, SJPP has gone on a media blitz. We have gone through many media coverage. Billboards are there. Bukit Jalil ada, dekat Max Highway ada, dekat Elite Highway ada, dekat NKVE ada, Sultan Ismail ada. So I'm very disappointed that you guys didn't see any. Anyways, so that is PGGS. PGGS, as mentioned just now, there's a $50 million cap on how much is available to be guaranteed by SJPP. If you can understand that SJPP does not actually provide you the financing is provided by the banks. SJPP provides the guarantee to the banks. So what happens if you don't pay? The banks will continue with the normal standard recovery. But the main thing is that you actually have a chance to get the loans from the banks in the first place. That is what the government is trying to do, to give you everybody the chance to get the financing required so that you can either grow your business or you can enhance your efficiency and so forth. Okay, so there's a $50 million ringgit group exposure limit for PGGS. As mentioned just now, coverage is 80%, 0.75% guarantee fee up to 1%. BLR plus 2% max. So if the BLR is currently is what? 6. Let's say 6 plus 2, 8% max that the banks can actually charge. On top of that, SJPP guarantee fee is 0.75 to 1%. That is what it means by guarantee fee that you may hear. There are 3 other schemes that are available currently on COVID. TRRF, Target Relief and Recovery Facility. This is actually a scheme that was provided by Bank Negara. So the banks are actively promoting TRRF currently because it's a fund that is provided by Bank Negara. So all the how many banks we have now? 20 odd banks actually provide this loan. This one is lesser cost, 3.5% per annum for the borrowers. Penjana Tourism Financing Facility. Anybody from tourism industry? Pure tourism lah? Tak ada. Actually, Penjana tourism is an industry that the banks tend to tolak tepi lah. But SJPP doesn't. SJPP will guarantee any businesses from any industries, from any sectors. So if you are rejected by the banks because of your industry or your sectors, it's most probably because of the banks themselves have a macam blacklist of industries or sectors. This is if there are bankers around, you can ask them. Sorry. And then, like I said just now, we have bus and taxi hire purchase rehabilitation scheme, BTHPRS. These are actually for express buses owners that take loans from credit leasing companies. Initially, SJPP do not actually guarantee credit leasing companies, but in last year, the government through Tengku Zafrul actually agreed to guarantee credit leasing companies to save the bus transportation business. Because remember, during MCO they couldn't travel, no visitors, no tourists, and things like that. Okay. So that's the first one. That's the next slide. Okay, these are the existing schemes. Like I mentioned, we have SJPP has been around since 2009. So the first one on your left, Working Capital Guarantee Scheme, is something that has been there since 2009. Because everybody seems to like it, we continue to have it. We advise the government, this one kita continue je lah, because it works. Bankers like it, borrowers also like it. So this one, the coverage is slightly lesser, 70%. Guarantee fee is 1% per annum. So I repeat again, with this 1% per annum is on top of your BLR and whatever spread that the banks put in. Then we have startup. Okay, you guys are not startup, I don't think so. But for Carol punya group, so for startup, what we mean by startup, Andy said just now that anything 3 years and above banks can look at. But for SJPP, if you are between 6 months and 24 months, you are eligible for the startup, WCGS startup. But the trick lah kat sini, there are certain banks that actually do this. You need to talk to me or to any of my team members, because I will not say out the name openly. Takut nanti ada bank yang kata, oh ya dia betul. So startup ada available, smaller amount, 50,000 to 500,000, but there is an avenue lah for startups. Bumi Putra ada. Every government, we had gone through a few changes of government. Every government will support the WCGS Bumi Putra, so it's still there. About less than 1% for Bumi, 0.75% guarantee fee. women. Okay. This one was set up masa Dr. Wan Azizah. Still remember kan?
Yes.
Timbalan Perdana Menteri kan?
Yes.
Masa timbalan Perdana Menteri Dr. Wan Azizah, this one was set up, tetapi tak berapa online. I'm not too sure why. The banks also limited numbers that actually come to SJPP on this. So it depends on the banks. SJPP does not have any branches, so our channels are actually all the banks. So if the banks do not take it, then sometimes we have to renegotiate with the banks. Say, how come you're not selling this product and so forth. But we do have some for women, but we don't have enough actually.
Enough women or not enough loan?
I don't know why, but the banks are not forwarding it to us. Okay. Maybe Eddie knows it. Because he works closely with the banks. Okay. I'll give you the slide lah. Kacau.
1,000 to 10 million. Automation digital.
Okay. Dekat ujung, you're talking about the last one. Okay, the last one is automation digital. Okay, this is what Carol and her team talking about. So basically all these schemes, there are actually more than 10 that we are managing currently. The last count I have is 19 schemes that I have. I'm trying to consolidate all the schemes into manageable size. But if you intend to expand into new markets or make new products or automate some of your processes, your factory lines, or you want to just implement an ERP system, there are various schemes that are available, and this is one of them. Automation Digitalization Guarantee Scheme, PGGS. You can also use this 0.75% per annum, or alternatively you can use the first one that I mentioned just now, which was PEMULIH Government Guarantee Scheme, PGGS. That is the one that the government is promoting currently. But for all of them, you can actually use it for automation. We are quite fluid lah in that sense. Whatever that fits you most, please come and talk to the banks of your choice, especially your company banks. If need be, talk to us. We'll be able to answer some of the questions. Okay, how does it work? Next slide, please.
You missed the export.
Oh, export. Sorry. For the export, if 30% of your revenue is export based, you can actually go for this one, PGGS export. If 30% of your revenue is export based. Okay. How does it work? You don't get to see me. I'm sure you are happy. SJPP does not have any branches. We only have one head office at Bukit Damansara. It's a previous office of Dana Harta. We just do it work. But you have to work with the banks, your banks. If your banks is X, Y, Z, please go to X, Y, Z. If the branch people that you talk to, or the marketing people, or the relationship managers, the RMs doesn't know what SJPP is all about, go to the next branch or go to the next bank. I just like to say something personal about this one. Sometimes kita bila nak beli baju, kita window shop. We shop all over the place. Bila nak beli kereta, we shop all over the place for the best interest rate. But then when your company wants to get a loan, you just talk to one and that's it. Shop around. There are many banks out there. They are fighting for your business. So take advantage of it. Some of them works with SJPP. There are a few that is, I can't say that they don't work with SJPP, it's just that they don't sell as much SJPP. But with the 1% guarantee fee, it's actually the lowest in the market, the lowest in the country. So talk to banks that actually work with SJPP so that you can enjoy the 1%. Okay?
That's right. Talk to the bank or talk to Eddie?
Talk to the bank or talk to Eddie. Yeah, boleh lah, boleh. So, what you need to do is that you need to go to your branches, apply for credit facility at any of the banks. After that, the banks, as Andy mentioned, they will review the application and request for guarantee from SJPP. So, the banks themselves will send your documents to SJPP. Ever since COVID, SJPP also have changed our working process. Previously, the banks will actually send your loan applications to SJPP. Today, they just submit it through the system. We don't even see the bankers. Everything is online. When we receive, we will open the documents, we will review. We approve about 97%, if I'm not mistaken, of the guarantee applications that are given to SJPP. Internally, SJPP, if we want to reject any guarantee application from any bank, from any borrower, I have to justify to my boss that we want to reject any guarantee application. So, most of the time, as mentioned by Caleb, it's not SJPP, it's actually the banks. So, in order to solve it, shop around. Don't confine yourself to just one bank. Because some banks actually give very good rates. Maybe Caleb has been talking to a lot of banks, so I think he knows. Okay?
And I mean, we were out.
So once we are happy with the guarantee application, we will actually send our guarantee notification letter to the banks, and then the banks will actually allow you for disbursement once all the precedent conditions are actually met. So don't worry, this is government guarantee. SJPP, this is not an SJPP guarantee, just to be clear. It's actually a government guarantee managed by SJPP, because government is not built to do guarantees. There's only so many people in Ministry of Finance. So what they did was that they set up SJPP to run the guarantee scheme. So the next slide actually talks about PGGS. A bit more detail, but basically PGGS is a two-pronged solution by the government. On the left-hand side is those that need restructuring of your existing loans is covered on the left-hand side. Sometimes you restructure your old loans, and at the same time you need new loans to restart your business. That is on the left-hand side. So, group exposure, as mentioned just now, is up to 50 million. Group exposure means the same company and its subsidiaries can only go for 50 million maximum. Government also cannot give everything to billions of ringgit to one company, kan? So we have to limit. So if Azlan Agel is on the board member of 10 companies, all the 10 companies must be capped at 50 million. So government exposure to Azlan Agel is capped at 50 million only. So in terms of if there is a restructuring already done on your existing loans, you are eligible for new financing. That is the bottom half of the left box. Up to 10 years tenor, DLR plus 2% maximum. Guaranteed fee is 0.75%. Okay, that is PGGS that combines restructuring and additional working capital. On the right hand box is actually if you do not have new restructuring, you do not have restructuring of your existing loans, you just need new financing. The right hand box takes into effect. up to 20 million, tenor 10 years, up to the 10 years coverage, up to 80%, 1% guarantee fee. So talk to your banks. They are very familiar with this. PGGS, WCGS, Working Capital Guarantee Scheme just now. Some banks favorites PGGS, some banks favorites WCGS. So you can talk to them and see what your funding requirements are and what they can offer based on what they have. Some banks actually prefer WCGS because 10 years ago they got an approval from the board of directors to do WCGS. So when SJPP introduces PGGS, then they get confused. So they still stick to WCGS. It depends on the banks. Like I said, shop around. Okay. Okay. The next slide just shows the eligibility. All companies must be owned by Malaysian, at least 51%. 500 million turnover maximum. Anything above that, SJPP wouldn't be able to cover. Sendirian Berhad, perkongsian, partnership, private, sole proprietorship also is covered. So if you have uncles, aunties, brothers that are actually doing businesses outside of your realm and need funding, we cover partnership, sole prop. So there's a lot of avenues. Okay, there's an exclusion list here. Public listed on the main board is excluded. Very sorry. But public listed, public listed is market, boleh kan? Public listed is market, we still can accept. Alright, the next slide shows you all our kawan-kawan. Check it out. I think your banks are here. Ada banks yang tak ada di sini. That one, I think that one I tak tahu lah. Should be coming soon lah. I think SJPP has managed to rattle the market a lot over the past few years. Most of the banks now want to kawan SJPP because 1% guarantee fee is the lowest in Malaysia. Okay. So the bottom list are those apa ni, credit leasing companies. But banks, if you take your bus, your express bus loans from the banks, I cannot guarantee. But if you take your express bus loans from the credit leasing companies, I can guarantee. Ada peculiarity sikit lah. In any case, many bus companies actually take it from the big guys down here lah. The Scania, the Hapsing. Because Hapsing, Scania are not here, so I can say that. The bankers, some of the bankers are here, so I cannot say this. Okay, then if you have any questions, please call us 032096 5000. I've got about 4 or 5 of my team members here. They will be available for any questions. We can exchange business cards. Go to our website www.sjpp.com.my to get more information. You want to relook at the list of banks, it's all there. If you want to know which banks work very closely with SJPP, PM tepi. That one also I cannot say in the open, but I can say it dekat tepi lah. So that, because sometimes your companies will actually require have preferred banks, then I will tell you whether your preferred banks works closely with SJPP or not. Some depends. Some banks prefer other means. Most of them actually close to SJPP. Right, that's it. Thank you very much.